Hi everyone, I'm Ibrahim from Firebase DevRel and live from New York. Today, we will do our code lab and workshop for integrating the App Distribution SDK for your iOS app. So, first, let's start with the SDK. Why do we even need this kind of SDK? First, testing your latest build may not be always as easy as you thought. Sometimes receiving feedback on the latest features are hard. Getting your internal team to run the most recent pre-release build of your app is critical to receiving the feedback on the latest features you are getting ready to ship. And email notifications can be missed. Testers receive a lot of emails on a daily basis and sometimes miss out on an email notification about a new build. And you may be getting outdated feedback. This means your testers might be running old builds and sending you bug reports for an issue that's already been fixed. And for this reason, we created the App Distribution iOS SDK. With the open source App Distribution iOS SDK, testers receive in-app alerts when a new build is available. Right from your app, testers can install the update and quickly start running the latest build. The App Distribution SDK comes in two flavors. You can either do the basic setup, which comes with a pre-built sign-in dialog to display to testers. Or you can further customize with an advanced setup. This will allow you to customize your own user interface. Let's go into a bit of detail. In the basic setup, you will be using the check for update method. This method checks if a tester has enabled alerts. If not, it will display a pre-built dialog that prompts them to sign into App Distribution with their Google account. And then it will check for a newly available build for the tester to install. It will return either a release object or an error. We will go into this object a little later. And enabling these alerts is a one-time process. As you can see in my screen, that's the enable build alert. And alerts will remain enabled on the test device until either the app is uninstalled or until the sign out tester method is called. You can include check for updates at any point in your app. You can use it in the viewDid appear of the UI view controller if you want this alert to appear when your app is open for the very first time. As I mentioned, you can also have the advanced setup. Besides the check for update method, now you can customize the whole sign-in flow with checking if the user sign in with the isTester sign-in method. You can sign in or sign out the tester, and you can customize the whole UI flow. All right, today in our workshop, we will be going through the code lab. If you want to go on your own pace, the code lab will be available here and later on the firebase.google.com/codelabs/appdistribution-iOS. For our code lab, we will require the latest xcode 12 or higher, in a cocoapods for dependencies 1.91 or higher, an active Apple developer account so you can distribute your app, and a physical iOS device for testing. The simulator iOS app will be working for most of the code lab, but you won't be able to download the releases that you get from the app distribution. I will just do like a small cheat at the first for you if you haven't used your device for development in the earlier, so you can add your device to your Apple developer account. You can always find your unique device identifier with the command xcrun xctrace list devices. I'll wait a couple of seconds. If you haven't put your UDID in your Apple developer account and it's not active, you can use this command to find your unique device ID. Next, you would need to register this device to your Apple developer account. It will be under developer.apple.com/account/resources/ /devices/add. Once you get in the screen, you can simply copy-paste your UDID you received in the previous set, and you can just register your device. And the last bit is to download this new updated provisioning profile. Now that you added your UDID into your Apple developer account, you can simply download the latest provisioning profile that includes the latest UDID from developer.apple.com/account/resources/profiles/list. I'll wait a couple of seconds if you guys are following with me. And the last bit is, it's a mobile provision file, and you would just want to double click it and open in xcode. You should activate this latest provisioning profile, which involves your latest UDID. I will later in the steps tell you how to do this from the App Distribution SDK, but since we are using only one device for now, that's an easier and faster way for your own device just to add it into your Apple developer account and activate it. All right, I hope you were able to follow with me so far, and let's get started. Let's go back to our code lab. All right, now that I'm screen sharing, and we'll be going through the code lab. Our code lab is called Alert Testers About Your New App Releases with the Firebase App Distribution iOS SDK. Today, we'll be using this code lab to go through the App Distribution SDK and show you how to add this SDK in your own iOS app. To get started, we will always create a Firebase console project. We will be going to our Firebase console here, and I will create a new project. Let's name the project as Firebase App Distribution. And once I create this project name, it will create a project ID, a unique ID for my project. We will go back to this ID later. Let's click continue. And for now, we won't be needing the Google Analytics, just to sake of for our example, but I highly recommend using the analytics later on your real app. We'll just say create project. And right now, we are creating our project. It should just take a few seconds. I will wait with you guys. We'll be finishing up our app distribution. And voila, our new project is ready. Let's click continue. All right, now we are in our Firebase console in our new project. On the left side, I'll be seeing all the Firebase tools and products. And on the main side, I'll be having my app distribution project. And now that I have my new project, I will create a new iOS app inside my project. I'll click iOS, and I will be presented with a registering your iOS app setup. Here, the most important part is to actually create a new bundle ID. For the sake of this example, I create the bundle ID for myself, .com.google.firebase codelab.app distribution, and I will add part of my name just to make it unique. And this has to be unique so that you can sign in with Apple later and distribute your app. This is your unique iOS bundle ID. We can skip the nickname and the App Store ID for now. We'll click register. It should just take a few seconds. And now we are presented with the config file. We would like to download the config file now, and we will be using later. We will need to bring this file to our xcode folder, to the main folder, the root of our project, so our Firebase app can be configured properly. Let's click download, and we have it for now. All right. We can click next. it will give us some instruction on how to add the Firebase dependencies with the cocoapods. And if you go one more further, it will tell us how to initialize our Firebase project with Firebase app configure method. And we'll get there in a bit. We can click next, and we can finalize the setup process. Here we go. I'm back to my Firebase console. Let's move on to our next step. First, I create a sample project for you so we can get started with the SDK. You can always download the code from our GitHub address, or if you are having problem with registration, you can also click on this link to have the zip file ready to go. Let's use this command, the git clone command, to be able to just clone this new repository. Let's go check our new repository right away now. All right. So in our new repository, we find that there's a start folder and final folder. The start is where we will be starting our code lab. This is the bare code lab for you all to start. And the final is the latest version of it. So if you have any problems in the meantime, you can always compare with the final version of this code lab. Let's go ahead and get into start folder. And in our folder, as I mentioned earlier, we will be requiring the cocoapods to download our dependencies. So we will say open pod file to be able to open our pod file so we can add our dependencies. Here I'm in my pod file. I will be adding the App Distribution SDK as a requirement, as a dependency. Let's use it as pod, auto capitalization, Firebase, App Distribution. And that should do it. Save it, and we'll close this. And now we just need to install these new dependencies. We can do it with pod install /repo/up-update methods, so we can actually get the latest bit of the Firebase SDKs. It should go pretty quick for me because the Firebase SDKs was already in my cache, but it may take a few more minutes for you guys, for you all, and I will just wait a little bit. And in the meantime, I can go through the dependencies that I had earlier here. So as you see, I already installed the Firebase main dependency, the latest version, and the App Distribution SDK, which is on 8.00 beta. This is the latest version. All right. Now that I installed all the dependencies, I can just go to xcode, and this is my favorite command to go back to xcode with the workspace, xed space ... So it will open the xcode in this current folder. Let's look at our code now. I have the app distribution example. We have our app delegate. We have our view controller. And let's get started. First, as I mentioned earlier, we have the Firebase config file. I can simply pull the config file and move to the root of my directory. I make sure that the target is selected. For my example, I will click finish. So my configuration file is ready here. And the second step is, as I mentioned earlier, I create a unique bundle ID for this project. I will just copy it and bring it to xcode here. So I make sure that it matches with my xcode bundle identifier. I was just able to copy paste my bundle identifier. And as I mentioned earlier, I would need my latest mobile provisioning file. And I will add it here. In the provisioning file, I'll select the provisioning file for me. And you can also select manage signing. I will just skip it for now. It will make it a little faster for you for the signing process. I'll go back to my folder here. And let's start with the app delegate. As we saw earlier, that we would like to bring the Firebase configuration. I will start with importing Firebase here. And inside the did finish launching options, I would like to configure Firebase, which Firebase app configure. All right. Now we have the app delegate ready to go. Let's go to view controller. Can close the other tabs for now. And we can move one step further. So right now we will set up our new in-app build alerts with the App Distribution SDK. To get started, first we would like to go to our Google Cloud Console. This is separate from the Firebase console we've been already, to enable our App Testers API so we can get the latest alerts. I'll open the Cloud Console here and make sure we select the right project, the App Distribution project. And I have my Firebase App Testers API. I will simply click Enable. It should just take a few seconds. And we should be almost done. And there we go. We just enabled the App Testers API. And we can close this tab for now. All right. As I mentioned earlier, for the Firebase App Distribution iOS SDK, we have two flavors. You can do the basic setup, which is just a check for update, or you can do the advanced setup with customizing all the sign-in flow. Let's start with the basic setup. The basic setup will bring an alert to enable the next alerts from now on, the new build alerts, and then it will do the sign-in flow, and it will finally check for newly available builds. It will either return a release object or an error object. So let's go back to our code, to our view controller. Let's get started with importing Firebase. Here we go. And as I mentioned, the one way of doing the basic setup is the fastest way is just putting under the view did appear. So every time your view did appear, you can actually check for an update. I just create the helper function here for the check for update. Let's fill this helper function, the private function I just created earlier. All right. So let me talk about this piece of this code I will be copy pasting. So we have our App Distribution SDK. We are checking for update, check for update, and it's an async method. And once it finishes, it will either return a release or will return an error. If there was an error, we can just show the error message. It is an enum. You can either get the localized description or show the enum. And we can check for an update. If there is no release object, it means there was no releases found. But if there was a release object, that release object would hold a display version, a build version, and a download URL, which we can use this download URL to build the latest update to our app. So I will just build this inside the UI alert controller. I will either show an error message or a no releases found message, or I can create an alert with the new version available title, show the display version, build version, and even create an action item that you can click and download the latest app update. And if you are familiar with the UI alert controller, once I defined it, finally I will be presenting this alert controller. Let's bring this code to my app. Simply, we'll just copy this. My copy pasting skills are right. And let's bring our text code. Here we go. We have the app distribution check for update method. And we are finally presenting it. and we should be good to go. The basic setup is as easy as this. Just adding the app distribution check for update method. Just one method. All right. So now we just did the basic setup. Let's see this in action. We will be building our new app and inviting testers to download our app. Let's go back to Xcode and see how we can do it. To be able to distribute our app with the App Distribution SDK, first, we will need to package it and put it in an archive. To be able to create an archive, that's one thing always I forget, is in the target, you should be selecting any iOS device. And once it's selected, you can simply click Product. Inside Product, we will call Archive. We will not be building or sending to our device. We will be just archiving for now. Here we go. The archive process will build our entire app and put in an archive format, which is an IPA file. I'll go through this file in a minute. My file should be just ready in a second. There we go. So this was my archive file for this app. I just created now, live with you guys, New York time. And it is the first version and first build. To be able to distribute, we need to click Distribute App. This screen will bring us few options. The first one is the App Store one, which you would like to use if you want to go through the distributing with TestFlight. Since we will be using the App Distribution SDK, we can use one of these later three methods. You can use an install ad hoc for designated devices. You can use Enterprise for your organization. Or you can, if you are just distributing the members of your team, you can use the development. For the sake of this example, I'll be using the development. I'll click Next. Now, in this screen, you can just disable the rebuild from bitcode as we won't need it now. We will just make the process a little faster and make sure you selected your own provisioning profile you just updated. All right. So now that we select our provisioning, we are just signing this archive and it will be ready to be distributed. We can simply say export and it will create an app distribution. It will create an archive file to be distributed. We can close this for now, close our xcode, and we can go back to our process. All right. We are back to our Firebase console. We are making sure we are in the right project and the right app. And from the left side, I'll be picking the app distribution tool. And I'm presented with the app distribution screen here. Since this is our first time, we are welcome with a Get Started page. We are clicking this. And I'm on the app distribution product. Right now, I would like to bring our IPA that I just created a few seconds ago, my app in a package. I'll just click, and this is the IPA. This is my archived app I just created a few seconds ago. I'll just create it and upload it, and it was fast. I have my first version here, the first build, and it is ready to go. Now, I would like to invite testers so I can distribute my app to these testers. For now, I already have a developer tester account I created earlier. I can just invite this account, or I can invite the entire code. Here we go. I'll just add this invite, and I will be sending to my tester account. I'll click Next. I can say updated UI, please test for my release notes. And I'll click distribute to tester. So once I distribute and send the invite, this tester will get an email with this invite. I can see that I invited one tester, and we can go to my physical device to be able to see this invite. Here you go. I am on my iOS device. I'll check my mail, and I already got this mail about this invite. I'll click to my mail. It will present me how I should register my device so I can start testing this new app. So I can see this is the app I just created. It will give me instructions. I can say get started. It will pop up a web app. And in this web app, I'll be consenting to share my UDID. As I mentioned earlier, we did a quick hack at the first so we can go through this step a little faster. But if you are distributing to other people, once they get their invite, they will be consenting and they will accept the invitation. When they accept the invitation, you get their UDID, so you can put their UDID, the device ID, to your Apple mobile provisioning profile and distribute a new release with this provisioning profile so that your test app can work in their developer device, in their testing device. And here we go. I just click registered. It means my UDID man. We can just check from the console as well at the same time. I can see it's accepted. I can even go. And as I mentioned earlier, you can even get these UDIDs from the export. And you will be going to the Apple developer page I mentioned earlier. And you can put this Apple ID and get a new mobile provisioning profile if you haven't done so earlier. All right, let's go back to my device. Now, we would like to register this device. I'll click register. Now, to be able to run this app, I will need to have a Firebase profile ready. I'll say download the profile. I will let this website download the profile. And in next step, I want to go to my settings. Here we go. There's a new profile from Firebase App Distribution. I will install this profile. Click install. And installing this profile will help me, let me test this app. All right. I think I'm good to go. I can go to back to my mail here. I was in my web app actually. I just install the device. And here we go. I have my first app distribution example. And I can simply download this new release from this invite. I'll say, yes, install please. And we can see that our new app is getting installed. Let's click app distribution example. And voila. So this was the new build alert. It will tell me, since it was a basic setup, it will ask me to turn on the alert. I say turn on. Now it will ask me to sign in. So I will be signing with my tester account so I can test this new app. I created a tester account here to be able to test. And I can click next. I'll just sign in quick. If our demo gods are working with us. Let me sign in quick here. And I will go back and make sure that I sign in correctly. All right. There you go. I just sign in with my developer account and back to our screen. It gave us success and back to my app. Here we go. We sign in. And since it was the first release, the check for updates run and no releases was found. We can simply say, okay. And you can see I am in the very first version here. All right. So Now we can make a new build so we can test this alert. We'll go back to my xcode. We'll go to project settings. We can simply bump up the build version. We'll make it 2. We'll go through the similar steps, product, archive. I'll go a little faster this time. We are just rebuilding the same app with just the new build app. So once you bump up the number or change your code, you should be getting a new build alert. All right, so I have the new version here. I can click Distribute App, select Development, click Next, disable bit rebuilding from bytecode, select Profile, click Sign, and click Export. And my export should be ready to go. Now I'll go back to my Firebase console, go back to Releases tab. I can just get the latest one. I can just go App Distribution and make sure I am at the latest one here. Should be this one. And I will be uploading this new IPA. Here we go. So this was the first one, the first build, my second build with the same version number. And I can just invite myself again, invite my tester account. I'll click Next. I can say updated build and distribute. All right. So that I have a new app distributed. Let's see if our update is working. I can simply close my app. And as I mentioned earlier, it was on my view that appears. So when my view appears, I should have the version available method. There we go. We just checked for the new version. The new version, we got the alert. It's available. Since I already enabled the alerts and went through the sign-in, it didn't ask me to go through the sign-in again. I'll say update. And updating the new latest release of my app is as simple as clicking install button. I'll click. It is installing my latest app. I can click on this. And voila. Since this is the latest version, no more releases. And I'm here on the build 2. That's my latest version. All right. So we went through the basic setup already. Why don't we go one more step further? Let's go ahead. Now we just did the basic setup. We'll go to the advanced one. How are we doing so far? So we'll go to our customizing or tester sign-in. First, we did the check for update method, and now we want to make sure we did the whole sign-in flow ourselves. We can go to our view controller. Instead of checking for update in the view that appear to make it automatic, we can just comment it out. I already created functionality for checking for update in a button. So we will only check for update when this button is clicked. And I mentioned about we can check if the tester is sign in with the app distributions is tester sign in method. So I can say app distribution is tester sign in. This will return true or false a bool if the tester is sign in or not. And where we will use this method, let's go back one step back here. And I create the sign in and out button. So it will be flipping the sign in or out depending the user's sign in process. If the user is already signed in, we will sign out the tester. We will update our UI. If the user is not signed in yet, we will be signing our UI. It's a sign in tester method, another async method. And if there is no error, we will just update our UI. And if there is an error, we will also present it. And I put this encapsulated it inside the UI alert controller. So if I can figure out how to copy paste, you will get there. All right. you will simply I bumped up my screen size to be able to present, and there we go. All right, so we brought this method. If the isTester sign in method call, if the user is sign in, as I mentioned here, we will update our UI. We will sign out and update UI. If they are not signed in, we will flip them. We'll sign them in, and we'll update UI again. So that should be it. Let's go ahead and we can even bump up the number. We can simply this time make it a little faster just for development. I'm testing this new development. I can send it straight to my code, straight to my device. All right, let's build it up my device. I'm just screen sharing through the QuickTime, and here we go. My device is. I just sent it to my device. It should just open up in a few seconds. I think my device was all right. All right. And my build has succeeded. It should open my device now. All right, here we go. I had the latest build. I just sent it. And as you can see, I have the more advanced UI. I can actually sign in and out the user. I can check for update with this button. I can cancel for now. I can sign out the user. I can sign in. Since I won't be able to check for update while the user is not signed in, I can go to the sign-in flow again. And once the user is signed in, here, I can later just check for update again. Here we go. I will simply sign in my user. And once my user sign in, as I mentioned earlier, I'll go back to my app. And now that my UI is updated, and I can check for update manually, now that I can pull the check for update method again. All right, so that was the both setups. Today, we talk about the App Distribution SDK. We talked about the two flavors, the basic setup and the advanced setup, which we customize further. If you always want more information, we have our Firebase, Google.com, or Docs ready. We have our blog post. And so far, we use the manual distribution through the UI. But you can also use the Fastlane plugin or the CLI tools, so you can actually automate this distribution process. So every time you have a new build ready, you can push it to app distribution, make sure that your testers always have the latest app, latest test app, latest release of your app. And if you have any questions, you can always ask us on Stack Overflow with Firebase-app-distribution tag. You can find us on the Firebase community Slack channel, app-distribution channel. And our source code was in GitHub. And you can always report GitHub issues if there's any issues with this source code as well. So today we covered the basic setup, we covered the advanced setup, and we showed you guys all how to build the in-app new build alerts inside your own app. And I'm really excited to see how you guys will be using this new SDK. I'm Ibrahim from Firebase DevRel, and thank you for listening to me. Have a great day.